Well, hello there, Emma. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good. And I wanted to first thank you for being my very first guest. And I wanted to also share with you on camera the reason why I selected you as my first guest. So when I look, you work full disclosure, we work in the same salon suite place. So when I look at your work, I see innovative, I see progressive, I see modern. And so I wanted, it just speaks to everything that makes an amazing stylist in 2024. You seem very relevant. And so that's why I wanted to bring you on so that you could help our audience just with, learning and knowing more about what you do and color in particular and extensions. I also want to make clear that my audience, I know exactly who my audience is, and it's newbies. I
Mhm.
love the newbies. I love new stylists coming into the industry because you're so green. You want to learn everything, right? And
Mhm.
sometimes you jump in there too fast, you get discouraged. And that's why only 5% who graduate beauty school actually stay as hairdressers. Not interesting.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, thank you. That's so sweet.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's start with first your career path. And what
Yeah.
brought you to hair? I want to talk about how you got started as a colorist and what drew you to specializing in lived in color and hair extensions.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna go from the very beginning.
Do
I
it.
kind
We
of
got plenty of time.
Yeah, so I actually grew up like in hair salons. Both of my parents did hair. My dad still does do hair up in Cave Creek. So I've just always been in love with it. I grew up sweeping hair, after school, got to finish this client, like that sort of thing. So I've
If you
always
don't mind me asking, who's your dad?
His name is Steve Nichols. I'm not sure if you know
Does
him,
he
but
have a salon or
so he being in Cave Creek has kind of a bit of a older clientele. We definitely are on two like polar
opposite
opposite
ends?
ends of the hair industry. So since he's in like Cave Creek Carefree with having a older clientele, his salon back in 2020 kind of they took things like very, very seriously as far as like social distancing, kind of that thing. So obviously that limited the amount of, space and time that he could get in there to do his clients
Yeah.
and just, you still have to pay your bills and everything like that. So being limited to hours that way, he actually ended up going in a suite, him and one of his friends that he had worked with for probably like 20 plus years at that last salon. So yeah,
Well,
he's up in Carefree.
what he passed on, obviously, it whatever he instilled in you to be a stylist, it has paid off big time. So
Yeah.
back to your career path, you said that you were sweeping floors, you grew up around hair, and my grandmother was a hairdresser, by the way.
Oh
So
yeah.
I totally relate to that. So go on.
Yeah, so I kind of grew up doing that. Definitely I think that hairdressing has come such a long way, like compared, like just since I have my parents to compare, like my path compared to theirs. Both of them like didn't do great in school, like very much push that, I go to school, I do something that I use my brain for. So all throughout high school and middle school, just like everything. I did all the AP, inter baccalaureate, like all the crazy, crazy classes. So I'm like, I'm going, to university. I'm going to do this and that. That was kind of my plan. And of course, like with hairdressing, I think it had a very like different reputation. I think now, especially that I'm in it and I love it so much and know that you can be so successful in it, I think it's like had such a different stigma around it when I was in school. So I was set up to go go to college. And then about a month before, I was like, like I really want to look into hairdressing. So I went and toured every single school in the valley that was within an hour of where my parents lived. I ended up going to Tony and Guy, which is actually, for those of you who don't know, it's not open anymore, but it's across the street of where me and Kim work at now. Um,
Yeah, and I started at Tony and Guy.
oh, did you?
I opened the very first Tony and Guy in Fashion Square in 1996.
Oh
Gee
my
whiz.
gosh.
That's a long
Wow.
time. But yeah, I
That's
worked there
crazy.
for 4 years. That's where I got my start, all my training. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
No,
Wow, fun fact. I didn't know that about you.
yeah, no, they had a great school. I loved it. Beauty school is not
Yeah.
for the faint of heart, but
No.
I loved it. After that, I had graduated beauty school and I went on to work at a commission-based salon in Gilbert. It's kind of a bigger salon in Arizona, called Habit. I was there for about four
Ah.
years. That's where I kind of learned most of the style of what I do now. We did a lot of extensions. I traveled and educated for them for a few years. And then 2020 hit. I was kind of at a place where, I started from the very bottom with no clientele.
Now
Um,
remind me, what year did you graduate beauty school?
that was 2017.
So 2017 and then
Yeah.
20 and then you went to Habit. Is that where
Yes.
you got your start?
Yep. That's where I got
Okay.
my
Oh, what
start.
a great start. Wow.
Yeah, it was awesome. So me and my best friend, she still works there now, but we got hired together and then loved working there. It was great. But I was just kind of ready to do my own thing. You get to a point where commission is great because if you are not filling your chair, you don't have, rent to pay for. It's just that you're not making money. And there's ways around that. I definitely, charged birds for some extra income, like did a lot of side things because it's hard at first,
It is true.
but
And for the newbies out there, as Emma is sharing, you can't jump from beauty school to owning your own suite or renting your
yeah,
own chair. You literally have to pay your dues and, nobody wants to work for commission.
yeah,
But if you're taking home 40% or whatever it is, and you've done nothing to invest in the business, I think you're doing pretty good. We just
right,
don't know
exactly.
that. We
Yes,
think, oh my God, I did all that work and they took 60%. But guess what? You don't have rent to pay, you don't have products to buy, you don't have marketing, nothing.
right,
Come in,
exactly.
they hand you clients, you do your clients, and you get a paycheck,
Yep.
right? No overhead. Okay, so then you leave, you go get your own suite.
I got my suite. I got super courageous July of 2020. It was about a week or two after we came back from lockdown. We had gone and um we weren't aligning anymore at that point. I think I just was like wanting more. I used to commute. I've always lived in Scottsdale, so I would drive. The longest leg I took was like an hour, and then I kind of moved up and down the valley because when I was starting in hairdressing, all my friends were in college. So, of
Right.
course, I couldn't afford my own apartment. So, I would just move wherever my girlfriends were moving. And a lot of them were in school in Tempe. And then we moved to Old Town Scottsdale. So, I was just ready to be closer, not
Yeah.
driving 45 minutes at the beginning and of every day, too. But so I opened July of 2020, my own suite, and it's just
And it's
kind of been
beautiful, you
doing
guys,
that.
by the way. It's so beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, my suite, I try to make it super homey because it's kind of like I spend more time there than I do at home.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
And it matters,
Mhm.
your surroundings, how you present yourself, how you put yourself together, all of that matters to your clients, whether you know that or not.
Yeah.
If you want to charge a certain price point, for example, You gotta give them something,
Right.
something beautiful to walk
Right.
into and to look like you yourself are invested in your own business.
Yeah,
No, that's
exactly.
really, really important. And I know that 2020, we all got comfy, right? Our pajamas became fashion for a while,
Yeah.
but I think we're moving away from that. And you actually have to get dressed now. And so,
Yes.
so I was, so my next question, now that you've got your own suite, all of that, did you find that, that investment, because it is an investment. So you have to put aside money, you have to save. So obviously you were a good saver, right?
Mhm.
Or because you
Yes.
you don't just go from A to B without, that's the other thing, if you're coming out of beauty school, it's rough. So
Right.
you do have to go and work as an apprentice, or, get some experience under your belt, learn the business first, and then start saving along the way once you start making money. So
Right.
what, after all of that, inspired you to lean into lived in color and extensions? Was that just a product of the environment that you came from at
Yeah.
habit, or
You
how did you
know,
get there?
I've just always loved that. I think, when you're starting out, it's kind of, especially with a Tony and Guy background, I know you can relate on this. They actually, again, for those of you who don't know, you are required to, and of course, I don't know if it's the same now, but at the time,
You had to specialize.
you had to specialize. So you could either
Mhm.
be a colorist or a cutter.
Yep.
So in school, that was kind of like, ooh, like which one do I want to do? So I put a lot of emphasis on kind of like deciding if I would want to do color versus cut, like which one do you feel more confident in? Obviously, I ended up not working for a Tony and Guy salon because ultimately I just love hair. I love everything that comes with it.
And you
Um,
didn't want to be limited.
no, and
Yeah.
two, it's like, thinking long term, which I think you kind of have to think long term in this industry. Otherwise, it's just like you have to be able to see the big picture to enjoy what you're doing now, I think.
Well,
Um,
I personally didn't have that vision of seeing the big picture, and
yeah,
I chose haircutting.
yep,
So my color life and journey started in 2020 after the
yeah,
lockdown. I'd never done color ever. And so
really,
my partner Vanessa, she retired in March of 2020. We worked together at Tony and Guy. She was a colorist, I was a cutter, and we shared our clientele by and large for the most part,
yeah,
right? So when she retired, oh my gosh, I felt like the rug had been pulled from beneath my feet. I'm like, da da da, so
right,
I wish I had the forethought that you had,
yeah,
where I was thinking longer term. Even though I've been in it for 26 years, it lasted up to what, 2020, yet and still it would have been nice to have that foundation be a little stronger
mm-hmm,
before I was just thrown into it.
right, yeah,
So I love that you knew that
yeah.
in advance.
Yes, yeah, because I kind of was just like, like you're saying, like I don't want to choose hair cutting and then forget like what goes into color because there's so
Right.
much more than, what you tone this with because you're not, you don't get the same result with client A, B, C, D. So it's kind of
Right.
like I just was like, I just don't want to lose that, but I don't want to lose
Exactly.
how to cut hair, like either way. So I
Yeah.
just
So
kind of
what
did that.
what is what is just in case somebody out there has been living under a rock and they don't know what lived in color is, can you
Right.
explain what lived in color is?
I think lived in color can mean something to everybody. For me, it's just kind of something that, my clientele, I don't want them to have to come in and see me every, 8, 10 weeks. If they want to, they absolutely can. I definitely have like a handful of super bright blondes. Of course, I came from habit. So,
Yes.
but even back then, that was kind of like my just what I liked. I think it looks really beautiful on most people. I try to always work with somebody's natural base level.
Mm.
So ultimately, it's a color that you're going to get longevity out of. You're going to be able to go 3 months and still get compliments on, oh, did you just get your hair done? Not like
Yeah.
having a grow outline or
Or the
something like
stripes,
that.
right?
Right. Yeah. Just something super seamless and blended and complementary. Again, like every single person can say this is a lived in. You could be a level 10 blonde, but lived in and have it to where your hair still looks great 6 months later.
So
Just,
lived in relates to having a little root.
yes,
Okay.
having a little root or just like the placement of it being able to grow in. Yeah,
Yeah,
seamlessly.
where it looks like it's natural, that maybe not
Right.
sun-kissed or whatever. And
Yeah.
some I'm sure are more intense than others,
Mhm.
right? Like as far as
Yeah.
the placement and how much blonde you put in.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you lived in color and hair extensions. That's
Yeah.
your specialty. So where do the hair extensions come in? And do you always do hair extensions, or is that just, kind of what you're known for, and that's kind of the not kind of, but that ends up being who you attract?
Yeah. I think again, it's like one of those things where you start from the bottom and you build your way up. Now with hair extensions, I would say probably about 80% of my clientele wears extensions, whether it's just for volume or length, of course. I think being 2024, the trend right now, at least that I'm seeing, is very natural aesthetic, which is great. But a lot of times, people don't know that this girl on Instagram's natural hair has a row of extensions in it for that fullness. So it's just kind
And
of
by
like,
natural, are we talking hair color? Are we talking just
I
no
think
makeup? What do we mean by natural?
I honestly think all around people are really embracing what they have naturally. Like
Got you.
a lot of my clients who have been bright blonde now they're like, well, maybe let's like experiment with a few low lights, and then they get that and they're like, ooh, I really like this. Just kind of like
Oh, I see what you're
softening
saying.
up the
Mhm.
whole look. So maybe
And
not
moving and kind
necessarily.
of moving away from that really ashy gray
Right,
looking. Okay,
right.
I
People like
see.
my blondes are being like, maybe I want to be a little bit more buttery, like that
Okay.
sort of look. It's still not natural, but it's kind of one of those things like make me look as natural as I can while still, enhancing
So when
what I
when
look like.
you have a niche and it's working, and your clientele, you're building, you're flowing, and say the lived in extensions with ashy blonde, and then
Mhm.
they switch, or trends switch, right? They switch
Right.
with clothing and hair always mimics fashion. This I know.
Yep.
And so with that, are you on top of it, like, okay, I've got to go get some education? Do you already know it and you just say, well, I can transition you into ash to buttery? Is that
Mhm.
something that you just know, or do you seek out, or do you have a go-to platform that you use?
Yeah, I think it's kind of like a loaded question. I think both, I think you have to always be educating yourself. I try to go to a class at least a year of somebody that I follow and I really like their work. Um,
Is there anybody in particular who inspires you? An
you
influencer? Is it
know,
a company?
I've gone to Michelle Zeller, Main Ivy. I think she
Oh, yeah.
just rebranded actually, and it's her name. I've gone to a class by her. I've gone to a class by Hair by Mick. I would say those
Okay.
two. Daniel M. I love him. Gone to a class with him. Um,
And I ask because, everybody's an educator, right?
Right.
As
Everyone
of
is an
2020,
educator.
everybody's an educator, and
Yeah.
most no, I'm not going to say that because I don't like to I feel like it's hard enough to be in our industry, and
Yeah.
whatever you bring, you're an artist. So whatever
Right.
you bring, it's not wrong. There's no right
Right.
and wrong. It's just your aesthetic, and it may or may not appeal to others. I will say
Right.
it
And I
that way.
think too, it's like when you go to these classes, because like I said, I traveled around and did like when I was working back, then we would travel and do a class like at least once a month and either go somewhere or do it at our salon. And I think we would mainly do extension classes and then sometimes do color as well. But I think being on the education side of it, I love that because it's kind of like you get to see hair through like somebody else's eyes, like you could get the same outcome 10 different ways,
Yeah.
if you understand and like get a deeper understanding to the why you're doing everything. So I think it's interesting just to talk to other people and
Because
see like,
they may have a quicker way to get there or a different way to get there.
yeah,
Like, oh, I didn't think about that, you know?
right. Or just
Yeah.
like just little tips. Like I think all classes, you're not going to come back and completely rework the way that you color hair. However, you can get like, two or three super like niche points that maybe you didn't think of before and then kind of incorporate that in how you color and then you just get your own sort of look.
Yeah, you kind of pick and choose what applies to you or what you grabbed onto. And would
Right.
you say that you are more of a visual learner or are you more of a technical learner? Like, do you need structure or do you just look at something and say, okay, I got that? You know how some people, they can just look
Yeah.
at it and just pick it up, whereas others, like myself, I need you to hold my hand, walk me through it so that I can process to understand.
Yeah. I think I'm pretty, I mean, honestly, a mixture of both.
Okay.
Like, okay, got it. Now I'm gonna do it and just like try it out and see. But I think most people with hairdressing are very hands-on. Just
Yeah.
I don't know, it's hard to just like look at something
Yeah,
and be like, okay, got it. It takes
it's true.
repetition and
Well,
yeah,
here's
being
a
in
fun
there.
question. When you go to training and classes, you pick up a new technique. Do you come back and apply it in your chair, or do you fall back into what's comfortable? You know what I mean? How we
Oh
go there,
yeah,
like, oh my God,
absolutely.
that is so cool. And it looks like something you can do visually. And then you
Yeah.
get back to your salon and you're like, no, I don't think I'm going to try that. I think I'm going to do what I feel comfortable doing.
Yeah, I usually, if I'm going to a class, I'm paying for a class, I will go see, and then usually I'll text either one of my close girlfriends or one of my clients that I'm like, hey, I just went to a class. I'm gonna try this out. Don't know how it's gonna turn out. Like if it ends up horrible, I'll fix it for you. But like, are you cool if you come on in? So
Yeah, do a practice.
usually I'll at least like get one person in like right off the bat so it's still fresh in my mind. And then I can kind of incorporate it like here and there where I want to. With
No,
having
that's
like,
actually really smart because
yeah.
it seems like that would be the obvious thing to do, but
Hmm.
life happens and you don't do it.
I think
Things are
too,
not
like when you go to a class, usually they'll tell you kind of like what you'll be learning. So
true.
if you have, that in your mind, like you can be like, oh yeah, I have a girlfriend, she has this hair kind of. So like, hey, I'm going to a class this weekend. Can you come the following Sunday? Because I always have Sundays off. So can you do that? So it's still fresh in my mind. And then I already
Yeah,
have it
you actually
lined up.
pre-book your practice.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
I love that. I don't think
Yeah.
I've ever done that before in all these years.
Yeah,
That's
because
so
it forces
smart.
you, forces you before you talk yourself out of it. I think I'm somebody who like struggles very much with that. Like if I'm trying something new and if I wait too long, I'm not going to do it. So I just know that about myself. And I know, okay, if I'm going to get out of my comfort zone and go take this class, why would you take that and then not do something? So
It is
while
true.
I'm in the mood to push myself, just go ahead and get someone in and have them ready to go. And then you're like, you have to do it. You have no choice,
Yeah,
'cause
that makes perfect sense.
yeah.
So you have a new client come in. Let's talk client consultation. So you have a
Mhm.
new client come into your salon. What is your approach? Because what you do is so, I call it advanced and
Mhm.
customized.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Your client
Right.
can come in with false hope, depending on
Right.
where they're starting. They can,
Yeah.
like, how do you conduct a first client? Not that you have any new clients these days, but how,
Yeah, no, I do.
but yeah, and also even with our existing clients, we always have to do a consultation.
Yeah. So I personally, I've always done this. I think I kind of started doing this when I was assisting back in the day where I was at. I wasn't allowed to take clients at the salon. So I would have people come into my room and I would do their hair at my house. So I would always have to be a little bit prepared with, okay, they want this. I think I need these colors type deal. So I would always have, and I still do this, I have people, hey, I want to book a hair appointment. Okay, can you send me a couple of pictures of you in natural lighting and a couple of pictures of what your goals will be and then a brief backstory of your hair, like have you gotten it colored in the past however many years, was it professional, was it at home,
And
just kind of
natural lighting, what are you looking for when you look at that photo? Is that just the
just something, because people will send like a filtered photo and you're like, okay, well,
oh,
you can't really
yeah,
tell what it looks like.
for sure.
So I just kind of like to do that as a consultation, just so I can kind of go over pricing, like where my head's at with pricing. And then
Yeah,
just kind
because
of,
the natural lighting kind of shows you the undertones as well,
right,
pulling
exactly.
whatever
Yeah.
it's pulling under there.
Yeah. And then
Okay.
sometimes you can see, if they have like the permanent grow out, you're like, okay, they've got, color on their hair, that sort of thing. But I kind of like to do that and go over pricing
Mhm.
via text just before they get into the salon, because sometimes, people love your work, but they didn't realize how much it would cost or,
It is true, and that's really smart. You do yourself a lot of favors pricing up
yeah,
front, and then they're not freaked out, and you've worked your magic and spent
right,
time, and you have to feel bad about what you're charging. And
right,
therefore, that's why people undercharge because
right.
they
And
wait till
to,
the end. Yeah.
yeah, because then too, it's like, you don't have to have that awkward of like, oh, well, this is what I'm doing and you have to do it. And they're just kind of like, okay, like, I just don't
Yeah.
do that. So I'll do like a pre-consultation with photos, and then once people will sit in my chair, kind of pick through their hair. I always like to check for like anything that can be going on in their hair, just to make sure, I'm not going to have any surprises. But kind of just like pick through. I like to section into four and pick through each section and just kind of go over what we talked about over text. Sometimes, we can get the desired result in one sitting. Sometimes it takes a couple of times if we're working out previous, permanent color, box color, anything like that. And I like to be very upfront with clients who have darker color on their hair. You know, it might not lift how we want it to. I can only do so much, but whatever the outcome is, it will look gorgeous when you leave. It's just maybe not this time what our end goal is, but it gives us something to work towards. So I kind of just
I
like,
appreciate you saying that because when you look, again, at the sea of influencers and educators online, you get these mixed, oh yeah, I did this in one day. And it doesn't matter if it's a level one.
right,
You can do this in one day, da da da, blah blah blah. But can you?
right,
Because it certainly doesn't seem to work out so well when you try.
right, yeah. And I think, like there's always that unicorn of a client. I like to say anytime they come in, I just had one that's like never colored my hair before, doing this. And it's like, okay, great.
Yeah.
What do you want? Because it's
Virgin,
like
yeah.
in
Mhm.
that kind of, I mean, of course, depending at what level you're at, she was like a level 7. So it's like
Oh,
you can
wow, she's
really do
perfect.
whatever you want with that, So
Exactly.
kind of just like setting yourself up for realistic expectations, and if you do get to their goal in that one sitting, then great, they're going to be super happy about it. But if not, you didn't set an expectation that it would be done, and then they don't leave with what they want. It's like kind of, I like to just live life and like under promise, over deliver. And
Smart.
that's the way to like keep your clients happier. And then, you don't have to
You
have
don't
that like
fall into that
awkward, like,
trap.
"Ooh, it
I
didn't turn
know.
out how I thought it was going to."
Yeah, so with that, product selection, I want to talk to you about that. So you have a full clientele. How do you choose the right products for different hair types and color techniques? Do you have a favorite line? What's your go-to?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, it changes obviously, like desired result. But I use a lot of Redken and Goldwell. Um, and then for lighteners, I like the Schwarzkopf Blonde Me. That's kind of my go-to. And then just kind of like changing my developer based on somebody's hair. Um, I, ugh, gosh, I don't know. I go
Yeah,
on about
like
this
silly
all day.
silly question. Does it matter whose developer you use with whomever's bleach? Like, can you use Redken's developer with Blonde Me bleach? Because obviously, when you
Right,
go to the distributor, nope, you have to use, And
right.
so when I came in 2020, I had 40 different I mean, it was ridiculous how many
Yeah.
developers I had until my neighbor, Mariana, she said, Kim, you can use one developer for all. And I'm like, no. No, I can't.
I think it depends like on you. I'll like intermix if I'm out of something, but I like to have my developers with each just like the
Oh, you do like to match them.
consistency.
Okay.
Yeah, for me it's kind of about the consistency. Just like with like the bleach, for example, it's just more of a velvety rather than like, sometimes it's like chalky, or just like
Yeah, and then
will
what about
expand more with this
do you experience
developer.
the puffing of the bleach with
Yeah, that's
Blondie?
what I was gonna
Even though
say.
they
Like,
depuffed it or what do they call it? It's not puff. That's not the word, but you know what I
yeah,
mean. The
I know what
swelling.
you're saying.
They
It
did a
swells.
de-swell formula, but didn't change, in my opinion. Not
Yeah,
really. A tiny bit, but not really. But I love Blondie too.
yeah. I think I experience more swelling when I use like, if you mix like 1 to 1, I usually mix it like 1.5 to 1. So there's a little bit more developer than
You get
lightener.
creamier.
And I just like
Like that
working.
yogurt texture that everybody talks about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just like working with thinner lightener anyways. I think that comes down to preference. You can mix it however you want to, but um yeah, for that reason specifically, I don't like to like put top chic in there, for
No,
example.
I
If
totally
it
get
comes
it.
down to it, we're human. Sometimes you're like, crap, I ran out. So to
Oh,
be honest,
yeah.
like when push comes to shove, it probably doesn't make a difference. But
That's your
I
preference.
like to use the lightener or like
I
the
love that.
developers.
Then good. You agree.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So challenges. What are some of the biggest challenges you faced when working with lived in color?
I think some challenges is just like really getting in tune of, again, like the why. Like, why are you doing this? Because a lot of like what makes my color different from other people's color is how I tone. So I think, when it lifts, the hair is all going to lift differently. Like generally your roots and your mids are going to lift a little bit better than someone's ends, especially if they had gone, darker previously, something like that. So I think kind of just getting down like why you're putting that root color, why are you putting that mid color, why are you putting the ends, or why don't you need a mid color, like kind of that sort of thing. um and then just like, working and giving somebody like, okay, they only want this much root, like how do I do that, how do I like meld it more down? Because you think it'd be super simple and like, oh well, you just put it a little lower, but there's just so much more that goes into it. And
Yeah.
just like keeping everything super clean. I'm definitely like very type A in all aspects of my life, especially hair. So like for me, I'm like very precise with
So
putting
you would call
everything.
yourself a perfectionist. So I'm
Yes,
sure your
yes,
clients appreciate
yeah. So just kind of like, I guess, struggles of just like making sure everything's where it needs to be. And
And maybe possibly with that being a perfectionist, sometimes one would tend to overthink things when, oh, I made it harder than it actually needed to be in this instance. But I'm
yeah,
never apologetic that I've
yeah,
done that. But it could have been, it wasn't as stressful as I probably thought it was
yes,
going to be. And
yeah.
so, with that said, what are some of the challenges of your color process adding extensions? Would it be trying to match the root of the extension to the color? Is that a challenge or is that pretty simple?
Yeah, so I always put the extensions in prior to coloring. Um, Everyone does it differently, but for me, it's kind of that like visualization that we were talking about earlier. I like to put it in, my clients like, okay, I want this. So we'll put them in and they can kind of like try on the hair. And I always like to just, cover the roots up because it's mainly your ends that are gonna hold that color from the extensions.
Oh, okay. Uh-huh.
So I guess kind of just like a struggle with that is, making sure that in the back of your mind, like, okay, they want to be this color. This is what they have now. Like, is this realistic, or do we need to add another like piece for depth? Like, just kind of making sure that whatever you're saying you can give them with the extensions, like make sure that you can do that and match them, because you don't want, bright blonde extensions with someone's hair that didn't lift good. It's just not going to give you that expensive look that you're
Yeah,
going for.
it's true.
So yeah,
And
I would
that's
say
where, would you say that's where a lot of extensionists fail, is matching that end natural hair color spot on to that extension color?
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So with color services, what's your preference? Is it brunettes? Is it blondes? Do you care? Is it whatever? Walks through
I
my
love
floor.
all of
I
it.
got you. Oh, I love that.
I
That's
love all
good.
of it unless it's a vivid. I'm not a vivid girl, but everything else.
Vivid meaning like a fashion color?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I pretty much have all of the color terminology down, but not all of them.
Yeah. No, a vivid, I mean, it could just be too like environmental, what we were talking about earlier, like going to Tony and Guy. There's a lot of people that
Blue
love
hair,
that
green
fashion
hair.
color. And I honestly think it's because, this is my theory at least, that since you have to wear black, like you got to express yourself some way. So do it with your hair. Um,
And you're a new stylist, you're learning all these new tricks, and you're like, hey, I'm going
yeah.
to step all the way outside of the box.
Yeah. Which I'm just not That's not my thing.
That's not your aesthetic.
No, no,
So
no,
what
no.
with your how long does it take you to achieve your signature look with your lived in color and extensions? What's an average of length of just an average appointment for you?
If we're doing like a full shebang, like color and extensions, and I'm by myself, of course I work with an assistant most days. But if I'm by myself, probably like 5-ish, 6-ish hours, depending on, how many extensions and all that. But I would say appointments range anywhere from like 2.5 to 5.5
And
hours.
now I understand why it's so important that you talk price up front.
Hmm.
6 hours?
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
the greater part of your day. You could probably not do much after.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, I totally get that. So with all of the different techniques, with your teasy lights, your foliage, your balayage, your whatever, do you have a go-to or do you have a favorite that you use just on a daily basis working behind the chair?
Yeah, honestly, I will do like a traditional highlight, like baby light, if you want to call it.
Do you like that term, baby light?
I do. I mean, I think it's kind of like a term
Straightforward, huh?
that,
Yeah,
yeah, it's been used my entire career. That's like the salon that I came from. That's like what they're known for is like the
gotcha.
baby light. So
Oh, gotcha.
I think for me, it's just kind of like a baby light is a highlight, but
I can't remember the influencer's name. She's amazing, and I can't not believe I can't remember her name. I haven't seen her come through my algorithm lately, but
uh,
she did something called strandy lights. I mean, she was taking one strand of, do you know who I'm talking about?
no, no,
She
no.
took one strand of hair at a time. It beautiful. I don't know how long it took her to do that, but I thought I'd rather watch that than ever have to do that.
Yeah, no. That sounds like a lot of work,
Yeah,
but
it was babier than baby.
yeah,
That was that one. But
yeah.
you say so baby lights and highlights pretty much are
Yeah, I mean, again, just the look that I go for is all baby lights. Just that's how you can get kind of
that
that,
coverage.
yeah, that kissed look. I guess it just like I'll switch my weave up, like if you're doing really baby fine weaves or baby fine slices, like if you want more coverage or all of that. I mean, every client is different, but I always, every single day, do like a traditional baby light highlight
Oh,
every
that
day. Yeah.
and what do you think about air touch? How do you feel about that one?
I would love to
I'm
take a class.
intrigued.
Yeah,
I'm
I would love
intrigued.
to take a class on, how to do it, how it works. Part of me is like, I just want to pick up a blow dryer and try it out. But
Gotta
um,
be so much more to it, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So
Well,
yeah,
the
tried it.
guy, I is he the creator of it? Again, me and
I think
name.
so.
And he's
I
now dating Maggie.
Maggie, yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
he created that, I think.
I think so. Yeah.
He's amazing at it if he didn't. Whoever
Yeah.
created it, he has outshone you, whoever
Yeah.
that whoever that was.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I love that because I'm so intrigued on that one. Yeah, if
Yeah.
you ever
No.
find a good class on that, let me know.
Yeah.
So, random question. Do you leave toner on for 20 minutes?
I leave
So
toner on
scary. So
for
scary.
however long I think it needs it. I think
Okay.
some people don't need it as much.
Because Redken doesn't grab as well, I feel.
Yeah.
Doesn't it need the full 20 or do you have problems with it fading out and 2 weeks later they have no toner
Yeah.
if you don't leave
Um,
it on the full 20?
yeah, I think I don't know, it's such a hard question. I
I
just
know.
watch everyone's hair like once I have it on. Um, I think a very key point with Redken, like how to make sure it stays, is just like you have to towel dry it like fully and then just make sure like your saturation is on point. I would
Mm.
say like for
Oh,
kind
towel dry.
of,
Oh, okay.
yeah. So yeah, I never like put Redken just on like sopping wet hair. Um, when you towel dry it, just I think helps it grab.
Dilute, yeah, because you're gonna dilute it if you leave it soaking wet.
Right. It helps
Dilute the
grab.
toner.
Yeah. And then I mean Redken naturally is just more of a sheer color,
Hmm.
Redken shades. Um, so in that event, like, with like roots or something like that, I always, if I want more of a deeper coverage, I'll always calculate like one or like a half of a level darker than the client's natural color just to help with that coverage. If I still want a little bit of shimmer through, which a lot of times I do. But if I want, if somebody's like, I want it fully contrasted, I'll go ahead and use colorants. It gives
Oh,
more of
that's when
a
you
matte
switch over
finish.
to, okay. I love Vibrance short sleeve.
Yeah.
That
Oh, do
is,
you?
that is my favorite. Seems to get
I
more.
have not tried it yet, but I need to.
Yeah, you might want to play with that one because they have
Yeah.
yeah, it's really good. With new clients, if you have, when you're building a clientele, what would you recommend for new stylists? Do you think IG is the best way to go, your social media, or is it truly back in my day, what all old people say, is it word of mouth? Because I've never advertised ever, and I
Yeah.
never needed to. So,
I would say for me, I mean, I've been doing hair for I think 8 years if you count school. Um, so even social media 8 years ago compared to how it is today is so
very different.
different. I
I feel
probably
it's more saturated today.
it is. And it's just I think the content is like so much more demanding and you have to stay consistent. I'm at a point now where like I've kind of taken a back seat on my social media. Of course, I still like to post because I love showing my work and it's something that you're proud of and it's something that I can see all the time like, oh, look at this great hair that I did. But I really built mine absolutely on Instagram. Like I would say 95% of my clientele came
Oh.
through Instagram / word of mouth. I think kind of like, hey, will you like just like shout me out on your story or like something like that? Or I think people just kind of naturally do that these days. It's like, hey, I got my hair done. I want to post a picture on my story because I'm feeling myself, and
Yeah, exactly.
they tag you in it and then they're like, oh, well, her hair looks great. I want that on my hair. So hey, you do this girl that I follow on Instagram's hair. Are you taking new clients? I want to come in and just kind of like that
So
way.
I think what you're saying is social media today is your word of mouth. Have
Exactly.
one person
Exactly.
posts and then a friend sees it, a friend of a friend and coworker, et cetera, et cetera. Okay.
Yeah. And then
Thank
too,
God I'm not now, Lord.
when I was starting out too, of course, like I said, all my girlfriends were at ASU, U of A, like they're all at college in state
Perfect for
universities.
clients.
Right. So I'd be like, hey, can you put me on your whatever, what are those called? Sorority,
Oh, yeah.
page. Like,
Yeah.
oh, my friend does hair, like she's doing this. If anyone wants to do it.
Did you ever have to do any freebies just to say, hey,
Oh yeah.
because when you first come out of school, nobody believes in you because they have no reason to, because you haven't
Yeah.
established credibility. So you kind of have to do some free things, just to show what you got.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did lots of free hair. A lot of it.
You have to in the beginning. We used to have to go to American Airlines and do flight attendants.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that when
That's
I worked
great
for,
advertisement, though.
yeah.
Honestly, I have a couple of flight attendant clients who literally they're like, oh, yeah, I came to you because by flight attendant, I asked her about her hair. You were in Arizona. So cool, like that sort of thing, you
Have
know?
you ever had any celebrity clients?
Um, I think it depends on like what
Maybe
a
the
celebrity
wives.
is to
Yeah, the
you.
wives, maybe wives, probably,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it again, it really depends on who's like a celebrity to you. Like I haven't done like Beyonce's hair, but
I don't
I've
know. I think
done
that would be intimidating. If
yeah, I've
she
done
waves her hair around too much, I wouldn't want anything flying out of her head onto
yeah, no.
anybody's
A
face.
lot of like again, where I worked before, it was a lot. Like that was the world that I was in was a bunch of influencers,
Yeah.
all that. So if that's kind of like a
I
celebrity,
mean, but it's a pseudo celebrity today. If you
right?
have a pretty decent sized following, you can, yeah, people recognize you. People know your
Yeah.
name. That's what celebrity means.
Yep.
So for you, Emma, beautiful Emma, mentorship and growth. Have you had mentors in your career and how have they influenced your work? Is that your dad? Is it someone, a habit? Like, who are your mentors? Just, oh my gosh, if it wasn't for this person, I wouldn't be who I am today.
Yes. Okay. So honestly, I would say my like main mentor when I was starting out was Chrissy. She's like obviously very well known in the industry.
And
I
Chrissy first and last name is
Chrissy Rasmussen, Hair by Chrissy.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so I assisted her while I was working at that salon. And the way that we would kind of work was a bunch of us would assist and kind of do that. So I really like loved seeing, how she worked. And then, yeah, like you're saying, like I had my parents and how do they work and like what works for me. Um, just because, I don't want to do 20 people at a time. I like want to sit and be able to have meaningful conversations with each client that comes in to see me and do that,
And
which
let
like
me let me chime in real quick because they don't know this, but I do because I pass your door every day at work.
yeah,
You do sit. You literally sit as you're foiling, which
yeah,
isn't typical. But I
I
think that's
do.
good. That's why you're not going to have back problems and feet problems and things.
Right.
Did you
Yeah.
always, or did somebody make that suggestion to you early on?
Um, I think it's again looking at the bigger picture. I am very pre-plan everything. So I'm like, I'm probably
You are a
gonna
type.
be doing this for a long time.
Yes.
I think like I started having some body aches and I'm like, yeah, I should probably like because I started doing hair when I was 18, like I should probably not be feeling this way at 20 years old. So I'm gonna
Smart
go
girl.
ahead and like sit where I can and try to just like really take care of my body because I am in it in the long haul. And
I mean,
I
the
don't,
era of hair that I came up in, and the first 20 years of my career, I wore heels. Isn't that
yeah,
ridiculous? I
yeah.
I can't even imagine how I would do that today.
No, yeah, since my mom did hair too, like she would wear these crazy heels every
That
day.
was
I'm
the
like,
thing,
I
though.
can't even imagine. I'm like, I'm so thankful that like sneakers and stuff are in to style these
Yes.
days
Yeah.
because like my feet hurt anyways. So I'm like, I can't imagine. But yeah, no, I like to just sit like where I can. Of course, I end up standing majority of the
Yeah, I'm
time.
gonna have one of my beautiful clients. She's a PhD in physical therapy, and she does a lot of ergonomic work. So I'm gonna have her come on and just kind of teach stylists how to stand. The best way to
Yeah,
stand. And I'm sure, as you know, it's easier for your client who's sitting there for a very short time in comparison to how long we have to do this job to
right.
move their head. You turn your neck instead of me, you know.
Yeah,
It's easy for make them turn and
absolutely.
twist and because they do it for a very short period of time.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
with all of that, your work life balance. being that you have this foresight and all of this A type wisdom looking into the future, what is your work life balance? Like, how do you, because I know you're busy
Mhm.
and you're killing it at what you do. You take classes, and I recently learned looking at your Insta that you are engaged.
Mhm.
So, and you have a dog. I do know that because you brought him into the salon.
Yeah.
So, how do you achieve best practice for work life balance?
I think that's another thing that's taken me a really long time to get to. Um, I definitely like starting out was assisting 5 days a week and taking my own clients at my house the other 2 days a week to get as much repetition in as I could. Um, so I think that it takes like time to get to it. Of course, you have to think of your financial stability too. Like at that time, I really did need to do that if I wanted to, be able to save, a certain amount of money per month and be able to live and like still experience things and kind of like be able to go on trips and stuff like that. Cause it's like things you want to do when you're,
You're
living
young. Yeah,
life.
you
Yeah.
gotta live.
So
Even when you're old, you still got to go on vacation.
yeah, so I think it's kind of like work hard, play hard mentality. Like I grind and then, take a break. And that's kind of like how it was. Then just like grind, grind, grind. Okay, you take this weekend off and go do something with your friends and whatever. And then yeah, now
So
I
now you keep a balance. How many days a
Yeah,
week
now
are
I
you?
have
How
a
many
way
days a
better
week?
balance. I'm like working 4 days a week, usually like 9 to 6 ish, which are that extra hour at the end of the day is so great because I
Yeah.
used to do like 9 to 7, 8 to 7. But I think like being able to have some time off and just like, you know, chill a little bit is really nice and it keeps you like energized and
And
not
wanting
burning
to
out
do this
feeling.
job, I feel that a lot of stylists, they burn out
Mhm.
because they don't give themselves a second to themselves. It's
Yeah.
work, 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 and I'll stay as long as I need to, come in as early, work as many
Mhm.
days. I'm like, you got to find that balance. Me
Yeah.
personally, from minute one when I went on my own, my hours have not changed.
Yeah.
I set up my life based on these hours, and I was able to afford my life.
Right.
So I always left, those 3 days that I don't work so that I wouldn't, if need be, have to get a second job. My job could be my second job. I would
Right.
just work one of those days off. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So with the industry, what are your future plans in this industry moving forward? Do you
Gosh,
ever
I
want to
don't
go
know. It
big?
changes
Do you
every day.
ever, yeah, do you ever want to have your own salon? Do you ever see yourself?
Where I'm at right now, I'm again, changes every day. Um I am newly engaged and like I want to be a mom. That's kind of like my main priority. So
Oh,
right now I'm super happy like with where I'm at. I think eventually maybe I would like a small salon. I really do love working in a sweet environment, but just like I could do, a salon that's maybe 6 to 8 chairs, something super small so that you still get that like boutique personal feel
sure.
to it. I
Yeah.
think coming from such a huge salon, I worked with 80 girls.
Oh gosh.
So it's just a different feel, and I didn't love it.
Yeah.
So I think like if I were to go and do a salon, like definitely do that. But that's further down the line. I think like kind of right now, my priorities are more just like my fiance and then like building our life right now and just kind of like being content with where I'm at currently. Um,
Well, and you have to see once you get married and you know, your dynamic changes at home. So you have to see how
yeah,
that aligns with career and
right.
moving forward. No, I totally get that. I did the opposite of you. I went from Tony and Guy to 10 chair salon, super successful, to with a partner, to 14 chair by myself, hated it. And
Mm,
then I took a year off in a studio, never done it before, and then realized, oh my gosh, this is great. I
yeah,
never ever want to go back the other way.
yeah,
I was just going to take a break to see where I was going to open up my next salon and just never went back. No regrets.
yeah.
So with all of that, what do you want people to know about you? Like as far as a stylist, what is the image that you like to put out there into the world of hair?
God, I don't really know. I mean,
I would say that you are um you're diligent, obviously, about your education. That's really important. And doing beautiful hair, being you don't strike me, even I've never been inside of your salon and sat in your chair, but you don't strike me as one that creates a negative energy. I think you have a very inviting, positive vibe that you carry, you
thank
know,
you.
just stuff like that. That's what I
Yeah.
mean, just passing by and just for the short while. I hope you never leave Palette Collective. That's what I hope.
Yeah, no, I do love working in a suite. It's so great. I think like I don't know. It's just nice. I feel like it feels like easier, if you are having a hard day or if your client is having a hard day and they like need to open up and say something. It's like
Yeah.
nice to have a space where you don't feel like you
Everybody's
know,
watching and
yeah,
listening. Yeah.
yeah, which may not be the case, but a lot of my clients like voiced to me when I did move, like, oh my God, like this is so much better because I felt like, it'd be clicky and whatever. And like to me, I'm like, oh, like that's not the case at all, but like I totally see where you could think
Oh,
that.
it's scary when you
So
come from a really big salon because you think, oh no, the only reason they came to me is because I was in this salon. Then you realize
absolutely.
when you leave, they all follow you like, oh, thank God.
Yeah,
I just want
absolutely.
you.
And
Yeah.
that is like 100%. Like the salon that I worked at, I was fully like, oh, nope, I'm moving. I'm going to lose like all of my clientele. I'm
Thought
going to
the
have to
same
start
thing.
over. And so I didn't bring an assistant or hire anyone to help me with like the first, I think, 6 months that I was at Palette. And it just like got to a point where it's like, I can't do all this by myself. So now, I'm back working with somebody and that's super helpful.
Yeah,
But
that makes life a whole lot easier. Thought, let me give it a go and see how I am because I've always had an assistant.
mhm,
And I've been working with one without one since September of last year. And now I'm like, oh my God, see, this is the part I hate. I have no time
yeah.
to eat, to pee, all that
Yeah.
good stuff.
Yeah.
All right. So I do this fun thing at the end so that I don't take any more of your time. I appreciate you so much. You have no
Yeah.
idea because this is a new platform for me and I want to do more of this. I want to, this is where what I want to contribute to the industry. First, I thought it was online education. Wasn't that because that still requires me to physically have to work behind the chair or do hair, even if I'm
Mhm.
teaching. I like picking people's brains and to pass that on to any new stylist coming into the industry who may have questions or be confused. Maybe somebody follows you and they're like, oh my God, I can't even imagine how I would get from where I am to where she is. You never know who you're going to inspire. And
Yeah.
so I just want that was the whole purpose. That is the purpose of behind this platform. So I appreciate you doing this.
Yeah, of
So with
course.
all with all else said, I do this fun thing at the end. I call it the 60-second blowout.
Okay.
Pun intended. So for the next minute, I'm going to give you, rapid fire questions.
Okay.
And you answer and we have fun for this last minute. Now I got to put my big giant
Okay.
glasses, as
I
my
feel like I'm
husband
on the
calls
Ellen
them,
show or
on.
something
I
like
know
that.
this is going to be fun. I love it. Okay. Are we ready? And some
Yes.
may apply to hair, some may not. You never know what you're going to get. Okay,
Okay.
ready? Here we go. Early bird or night owl?
Early bird.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Cats or dogs?
Oh, both.
Book or movie?
Movie.
Sweet or savory?
Sweet.
Mountains or beaches?
Mountains.
Last show you binge watched?
Schitt's Creek.
Netflix or sports?
Netflix.
Sneakers or heels?
Sneakers.
Brunch or dinner?
Dinner.
Schwarzkopf or Redken?
Redken.
Do you believe in aliens, Emma?
Yes.
Hot or cold?
Hot.
Kim Kardashian or Taylor Swift?
Taylor.
Church or the gym?
Gym.
Date night or girls' night?
Date night.
Date night or game night?
Game night.
Intelligence or looks?
Intelligence.
There you go. That's your
Yay!
Woohoo! See, you know who you are. I did this with my husband. He's like, thank you once again. And where can people follow you and get to you?
Instagram, TikTok, Emma Nichols _hair. And I have a website, emmanicholshair.com.
Awesome. Thank you, Emma. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. And I will see you at work.
Of course. Yeah, I can't wait. I'll see you soon.
Okay, bye.